talk about life post-wedding. Has the fact that your sister now has taken on this enormous role, not only as a mom, but in her role with the royal family, has it changed your relationship?
We're very close, and we support each other and get each other's opinions and sort of be normal with each other, treat each other normally, and that sort of kept us all sort of fixed to the ground. And
so you can call any night and say, hey Kate, it's Pippa, let's just do girl talk like we used to?
We have a very normal sisterly relationship. I mean, obviously she has pressures that she's taken on and things, but we spend a lot of time together. We still do a lot together as a family, and I think that's sort of the heart for all of us, is having a really close family.
Her life changed forever in just 24 hours. Once a private citizen, Pippa Middleton became a global sensation at her sister's royal wedding, thanks in part to a single bridesmaid dress. But what began as a media frenzy soon spiraled into relentless pressure, haunting comparisons to Kate and a complete reshaping of her life. What really happened behind the curtains of this overnight fame? And how did it lead to the collapse of her personal relationships? The shocking truth will turn everything you thought you knew about Pippa on its head.
It's been a crazy couple of years. It's been a crazy couple of years since my sister's wedding, but it's had its upsides and downsides, and I just feel really fortunate to be able to. Well, really nervous, but it's incredibly exciting, and I feel really lucky to have been in this position to publish a book. So that's great.
Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Before April 29th, 2011, Pippa Middleton lived a life that by all accounts was comfortable but unremarkable. She was part of a loving and supportive family, a tight-knit circle who valued their privacy. As the younger sister of Kate Middleton, she was well educated, having graduated from the University of Edinburgh, where she studied English literature. She even cultivated her niche within London's social and professional scene, working for a time at a public relations firm and later joining her family's party supplies business. But none of this set Pippa apart in any grand way. To the world outside her social bubble, she was just another young woman navigating her 20s in Britain. She borrowed the occasional spotlight from her sister on low-profile outings, but for the most part, Pippa relished the simplicity of her anonymity.
So remember the dress? I seem to remember this. This is the one she wore to her sister's wedding in 2011. The one that had people saying, wait a second, who are we supposed to really be looking at today? Well,
it was the Alexander McQueen dress.
Yes.
I know you knew that, right?
I don't care who made it, but I like them.
I think it was called the Humana Humana model.
Now, Pippa is saying that that dress fit, quote, a little too well.
Seems so innocuous, that comment. Yes, she was stunning. Yes, she upstaged the bride. Okay.
That anonymity ended the day her sister married into the royal family. On April 29th, the world gathered to watch Kate Middleton wed Prince William in a ceremony that was equal parts fairy tale and spectacle. For Pippa, this was meant to be her sister's moment. She wasn't there to stand out or soak up attention, but to support her sister on one of the most significant days of her life. Her role as a bridesmaid seemed straightforward. Walk down the aisle, smile when appropriate, and blend in. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. When Pippa stepped out of the car in her now iconic ivory Alexander McQueen bridesmaid dress, every camera lens turned to her. Although designed to be understated, the sleek, fitted style of the dress caught the public's eye immediately. Moments into the ceremony, social media, tabloids, and even live commentators buzzed with chatter, not about the royal vows, but about the younger Middleton sister and her striking silhouette.
And we could see from those images as she climbed into this beautiful Rolls Royce that there is quite a train. It could take her a few minutes to get out of the car.
Yeah, I think her father was struggling with that bit, wasn't he? Quite 50s, isn't it?
It's exquisite. 2 meters 70, the train. And what a vision.
It's exquisite. She...
Alexander McQueen designed this dress. A very popular choice.
I am beside myself. This is such a fashion moment, I can't tell you. Sarah Burton has had the most extraordinary year.
The reaction was instant and overwhelming. Within hours of the ceremony, Pippa Middleton was trending online. A Facebook page dedicated to her appearance at the wedding garnered more than 200,000 followers within days, with headlines referring to her as her royal hotness. Famous faces, including even Justin Bieber, commented on her look, while tabloids got to work chronicling every detail of her life. Clips and photos of that bridesmaid dress inundated the media, replayed on every news outlet from the UK to the US. Overnight, Pippa went from being virtually unknown to the subject of international fascination. The public called it Pippa Mania, a whirlwind obsession so big it threatened to overshadow even the royal newlyweds. She became the emblem of beauty at the wedding, thrust into a limelight she never sought and couldn't step out of. But what that single dress represented was far more than aesthetics. It marked the start of a new chapter that Pippa herself hadn't signed up for. The fame it brought seemed glamorous on the surface, but left little room for the life she'd previously known. Lavish as the royal wedding may have been, the cost of that white Alexander McQueen dress proved steep. While it etched her place in pop culture history, it also stripped away the protective veil of being a private citizen. Every move she made now carried new weight, underscored by the expectations of a public that didn't truly know her, but felt entitled to every detail about her. And so Pippa's life changed, not by choice, but by circumstance. In a single day, she became a household name, her image pinned to countless mood boards, wedding planning forums, and headlines. Yet off camera, the sudden wave of attention became a double-edged sword. As the cameras continued to chase her, the dress itself began to symbolize something darker. If that ivory gown signified a fairy tale to the public, to Pippa, it represented the weight of a newfound scrutiny that would ultimately reshape her personal and emotional world. But fame isn't always the blessing it appears to be, so what happens when the glare of the spotlight becomes too bright to bear? For Pippa, the answer lay not in the attention she received on her sister's wedding day, but in how that attention would ripple into the years that followed. Fame is often packaged as something glamorous, something to be admired or envied. Yet for Pippa Middleton, the reality was far from enviable. The attention she received after the royal wedding brought her notoriety, but it came with an unexpected cost: the quiet erosion of her sense of self. Thrust into the global spotlight overnight, Pippa was left grappling with a new identity, one shaped not by who she was, but by who the world decided she should be. At the core of her struggle was the psychological toll of sudden fame. Unlike Kate, Pippa hadn't prepared for public life or the burden of being constantly watched. Experts explain that being unprepared for fame can make the transition especially damaging. Without the resources or experience to manage the pressure, a person can become trapped between their private identity and the public persona thrust upon them. For Pippa, this meant reconciling her real self with the media's version of her, the fun, carefree sister who lived to bask in the attention. It didn't take long for the cracks to appear. Away from the cameras, she battled imposter syndrome and nagging self-doubt. Did the world truly like her, or did they like the idea of her? And, hardest of all to face, did she still like herself? These questions became even harder to answer as comparisons to Kate loomed large. While her sister was described as regal and effortlessly sophisticated, the press cast Pippa in a completely different light. Tabloids latched onto the narrative of the fun-loving Middleton, painting her as someone whose life revolved around exclusive parties, holidays, and the social scene. That image clashed deeply with the woman Pippa actually was, someone who valued hard work, cherished close friendships, and preferred her personal triumphs to be private, not publicized. Yet the media's caricature of her took on a life of its own, making her feel as though she had to live up to a role she never wanted in the first place. The comparisons weren't just unkind, they were constant. Every outfit she wore, every event she attended, every decision she made, it was all measured against her sister. The pressure hardened under the microscope of relentless media intrusion. Within weeks of the royal wedding, photographers began lurking outside her home, camped at her doorstep to capture even the most mundane aspects of her routine. They cataloged what groceries she bought, where she went for coffee, and who she was seen with. Tabloid stories flooded newsstands dissecting every element of her life, right down to her fitness regimen. And when the stories weren't critical, they were invasive. Her romantic relationships became particularly juicy fodder. Private outings with dates were splashed across magazine covers. Subtle moments, a look, a touch, were magnified into exposés about her love life. No decision existed in solitude anymore. She couldn't even leave her house without wondering how her outfit, body language, or expressions might be headline material by the next morning. Beyond the physical presence of the media, there was also the psychological weight of knowing she was always being judged. Magazines talked endlessly about her appearance, assessing her style choices and analyzing her body with a critical eye. Some commentators reduced her to little more than an object of fascination, highlighting her as a figurehead for beauty while disregarding what lay beneath. Over time, this constant evaluation chipped away at her confidence. What may have started as curiosity from the public quickly veered into a form of scrutiny so invasive it left her anxious, always feeling one step removed from her authentic self. Psychologists have highlighted how fame, particularly when unexpected, can distort a person's view of themselves. The disparity between how they perceive their identity and how the world sees them creates an internal tension that's difficult to shake. For Pippa, this tension turned her public attention into a prison of expectations. Her once vivid personality faded under the weight of public commentary, leaving her withdrawn and cautious. What the public saw as her charmed life had become a magnifying glass that burned hotter with each new headline. Fame had stopped being exciting, it had become suffocating. The years of scrutiny left visible damage. She was no longer the carefree young woman seen on royal wedding day, waving shyly at cameras. The weight of comparisons, the endless tabloid stories, and the constant loss of privacy had transformed her. Yet the world never stopped demanding more. As fame closed in, it began seeping into her personal relationships as well, raising one crucial question: how much of herself had Pippa sacrificed to live up to a title she never wanted? Fame didn't just intrude on Pippa Middleton's life, it pushed its way into her relationships, leaving cracks that were impossible to ignore. In the months after the royal wedding, Pippa's relationship with Alex Loudon, a former professional cricketer turned financier, quickly became a focal point for tabloids. Before April 2011, they had enjoyed a relatively quiet romance. Alex, known for valuing his privacy, had little patience for the media circus. The sudden spotlight thrust on Pippa threw them both into uncharted territory, where private moments now came with the possibility of an intrusive camera or a speculative headline. That shift in their lives wasn't easy to navigate. While Pippa tried to make sense of her newfound fame, Alex struggled with the constant erosion of his anonymity. Photographers shadowed them on dates, while tabloids dissected every aspect of their relationship, from their compatibility to imagined tensions. It was less a relationship and more an open secret that strangers felt entitled to analyze. Unsurprisingly, this barrage took its toll. Arguments about how to manage Pippa's public image became a regular source of conflict. Alex had never sought a life in the public eye and found himself increasingly uncomfortable as their once private relationship became fodder for gossip. The pressure proved to be more than their relationship could endure. By late 2011, it ended, leaving Pippa heartbroken. For her, it wasn't just the loss of Alex that stung, it was also the realization that her life, once she had been perfectly content to live out of the spotlight, had become a spectacle for public consumption. Even their breakup was turned into entertainment, fueling a cycle of media attention that she had little power to stop. It marked the first, but not the last, time that fame disrupted her personal life. When Pippa married James Matthews in 2017, it seemed as though she had found a partner who could balance the chaos fame had brought. James, a hedge fund manager and former race car driver, shared Pippa's upper-class background, but was notoriously private. In the beginning, their differences felt complementary. His quiet, reserved demeanor stood in stark contrast to the wildly publicized image of Pippa as an adventurous, outgoing it girl. For a time, it looked like James's preference for privacy might provide her a reprieve from the glare of fame. But as the years went on, the contrast between their personalities started to show. To adapt to their marriage and James's way of life, Pippa began retreating from the persona the world had come to associate with her. Gradually, the vibrant, confident young woman who had charmed the public after her sister's wedding seemed to fade. She appeared less frequently at high-profile events, and when she did, it was often in roles that aligned with her husband's reserved nature. The media noted a shift in her demeanor, less lively, more subdued, almost as though she were deliberately shrinking her presence to maintain harmony in their relationship. Friends later remarked that Pippa's once bold personality seemed to dim as she worked to accommodate James's preference for a quieter, less public life. The compromises she made to fit into his world began to chip away at the independence she had long been known for. By the time their marriage showed signs of strain, it seemed inevitable in hindsight. Her sacrifices, both personal and public, had slowly eroded parts of her identity. There's only so much a person can suppress before it begins to take a toll. The eventual breakdown of their marriage didn't come as a scandal, but rather a quiet acknowledgement of an incompatibility that had been simmering for years. James's visible withdrawal from public life mirrored the unraveling of their partnership, and for Pippa, it became a defining moment, a chance to reassess who she was away from the expectations of fame, her marriage, and the public stage. It was a breaking point, but also the start of something else, the slow, difficult process of reclaiming herself. Pippa Middleton's story is a reminder that fame often carries hidden costs. What began as a single moment of public admiration quickly unraveled into years of scrutiny, leaving her to navigate a world that no longer felt her own. The intense comparisons to Kate, paired with relentless invasions of her private life, created a kind of pressure that eroded her confidence and reshaped her relationships. Experts consistently warn that unexpected fame can dismantle one's sense of self, and Pippa's experience makes that painfully clear. In the end, her journey underscores a simple truth: privacy is more valuable than we ever realize.